They just lie. They lie about everything. And I was going to hit her really hard on the trail today, but now I don't have to because she's off. She's off. No, I can't get over it. Who the hell takes off? We have 14 days left. And she'll take a couple of more days off, too. You know why? She's lazy as hell, and she's got that reputation. She's a radical left lunatic. She's further left than Bernie Sanders or Pocahontas. Now, Pocahontas, because I think, is Pocahontas further left than Bernie? Just about, right? It's close. It's close. Who the hell cares, right? Rick says, I don't know. But they're out there. But she's the furthest left. We can't have a person. She's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor. By the way, the fake news, look at all of them. Where is the father we should interview? Because I'd find it interesting to see what he has to say. He's, I don't know, they seem to have a problem. But it would be nice to interview the father. He's a Marxist professor. And I think that's okay. That's good, fine. But I think it's appropriate that the father be interviewed by the fake news. They don't want to interview him, and I wonder why. If we had a real press in this country, this wouldn't even be a race. And I'm not sure it is a race anyway. They just came out with the Atlanta Constitution, just came out with a poll that we're 5 up in Georgia. We're up in... And let's see what happens, because it all doesn't matter, because, you know, bad things happen. Some very, very bad things happened last time. But this time we don't have COVID, and it's going to be a lot harder for them to do bad things. So we're going to see. We have tremendous people. We have a lot of lawyers working. We have lawyers working, numbers of lawyers that nobody's ever seen before, because we're not going to play games, because we're going to lose our country. Our country's failing. We don't know what we're doing. We're laughed at all over the world. President Xi thinks we're stupid. Putin thinks we're stupid. That would have never happened. Putin, if I were president, Putin would have never, ever gone into Ukraine. Now we have a number of dead people that's so much greater than what they say. They knocked down an apartment house that's 2 blocks long. They're big buildings in Ukraine, 2 blocks long and 20 stories high, and they say one person was slightly injured. No, many people were killed when they did that. And these towns and cities all over Ukraine are knocked down. Millions of people. I mean, when you look at the total number of dead from that war, and it would have never happened, should have never happened, there was 0 chance. His energy policy also helped it happen, because he drove energy through the roof, because he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. And if you look at now, Israel, October 7th, that would have never happened. But if Bibi Netanyahu followed the plan of Biden, he didn't want him to do anything. And today, you probably heard, now the press isn't covering it very much, which is just incredible. Possibly our Defense Department or somebody, anyway, it was leaked, the entire military plan of Israel, the military plan, the plans they have at the highest level, it was leaked. Highly confidential information. It was leaked by our somebody. They have no idea who did it. Can you imagine you're fighting a war and you have your Americans, Carlos, can you imagine anything like that? Did you hear this? You know, they leaked all the information about the way that Israel's going to fight and how they're going to fight and where they're going to go. And somebody, who did that? Can you imagine somebody doing that? That's the enemy. I guess that maybe is the enemy from within, as I talk about. We have an enemy from within. They hate to talk about it. But could you imagine? Could you imagine? So we just can't stand for this incompetence anymore. We are an incompetently run country. We are led by a man that, first of all, look, I'm not a fan of his, but what they did to him was incredible. He had 14 million votes. He won the primary fair and square. He had 14 million votes, and they came to him. They said he had a bad debate. He didn't do well, and his numbers went down, but I think he would do probably. Nobody, even political people don't know. Rick Scott has no idea who the hell Harris is. No, people don't know who Harris is. But now they're finding out that she's a radical left lunatic, and we can't take a chance on losing this election, because if we lose this election, we may not have a country anymore. We may not, and I've heard this from a lot of very smart people that are very straight down the middle. They say, we may never have an election again in this country. This is where we're going. I used to say that if we don't do something, we all know what's happened with Venezuela. This was 20 years ago, one of the great countries of the world, and now it's troubled, to put it mildly. And I said would be Venezuela on steroids, meaning a bigger version. That can happen. Who would think it can happen? But I see it because I see the people that we deal with. And these people they don't love our country. They don't love our country. And we're going to do something about it, but we have to win the election. So, when they get up and they lie about every single thing, they tell you, they know your position. And in my case, it's been my position for many years. One of the people said the other night on television, he's a great guy, Jesse Waters, he said, whether you like Trump or not, his position's been the same for 30 years. I mean, it's been the same. I want strong borders. I don't want foreign countries to rip us off, Max. We're being ripped off by everybody, and our friends do it worse than our enemies. It's incredible. We had that very well going, and we did a good job on that, but we're going to do the ultimate job. We're going to bring a lot of those jobs back. I think we're going to bring more than we lost back, and it's going to happen very fast through intelligent taxation, tariffs, and incentives, and you're going to have companies pouring into our country, and they're going to be very happy. I think that's why I'm doing so well in Michigan. That's why the auto workers like Trump so much. Their union head is a stiff. He's a total stiff. He has no clue. He has no clue. He wants to go all electric, and all electric cars. They want to have all electric cars, and they're wonderful. I think they're great. They have an application, but we want gasoline-propelled cars. We want hybrids. We don't want hydrogen, Max, because they blow up, and you are no longer recognizable, Max. This guy owns more gas stations than any guy. He owns so many gas stations, he doesn't know what to do with them, right? But and he's a great American too, by the way. He's started with nothing, and he's a very successful man. He's a great man. So I just want to thank you all. We can't play games with these people. These are people that are dangerous people. And again, Hillary and Biden. Now, Biden didn't tell the truth very much, but he was much better than this one. This one is just an outright, I've never seen anything like it. Point after point after point, and then they do ads, and they just say this stuff. And I just wonder, I hope the public is understanding it. I hope, because I found the public to be amazingly smart. They get it. I found it to be amazing that they get it. But the level of lying is just incredible. I mean, to a point where I can't even imagine it's legal. I was asking some of these lawyers, some of the top guys, I said, can they absolutely, 2 weeks before an election, go out and do an ad where every one of your policies are the exact opposite? Isn't that election interference, and isn't that fraud? And isn't there a court that can do something about that? But the end result is, we can talk about it here, and people can listen, and they understand it. I think they understand it. So maybe what we'll do is we'll go around, take a couple of questions, yes, and have a little fun, okay? It's an honor to be with everybody, and especially this great Hispanic community. Great, thank you very much.
Mr. President, you know that the Latino community loves you, and it was such an honor. It was such an honor to work for you at the White House all 4 years, and I got a front row seat of how much you cared about the Latino community, and you delivered results, and you didn't pander to us. You gave us opportunity, and that's what we want. We want the American dream. My mother was born in Mexico, my dad was born in Brooklyn with very humble means, and they worked very hard and achieved the American dream. So that's how what other country could a little girl from East LA make it to the White House to work for President Trump? And thank you. And that dream is achievable through jobs. And we care, like all Americans, about the #1 issue, and that's jobs and the economy. And we have some amazing business owners here, sir, that want to tell you about how it was under your administration and what the trouble they're having. And so we have Joel Garza, who's here, who owns many Sonic franchises, among many other things. He's an entrepreneur. And so, Joel, why don't you tell the president and everybody here about what you're experiencing?
Thank you, Mr. President,
Thank you.
to have us here and taking the time to be with us today. Even the last 3.5 years, the worst years for businesses. Inflation, interest rates with banks, prices, everything, you know, is nothing compared to 2017 to 20, when you were, you know, at the White House. And my biggest issue is gonna be, it's easy to destroy what you build, but I don't think it's enough time for you and 4 years to rebuild again these people destroy. I live in the city of Houston, and the last 2 years, 30% increase in property taxes. And we got a great governor. Governor Abbott, he's a great guy.
It's true.
Great guy, but we need your help as soon as possible. We need you help us with banks to stop regulations. It's just so difficult right now to create more jobs.
I think we're going to get it going very quickly, actually. I think it's a lot of time, and we have some very good foundation. We have, as an example, the tax bill that we passed. We gave you the biggest cut in taxes in the history of the country, bigger than the Reagan cuts, and all of that stuff. It's going to be very hard for them to give it up. I can't imagine politically that it would be possible. It would be a disaster for the country if that could lead to a depression, frankly, if they gave that up. But we have a great foundation to build on, and we're going to have things. So we're going to have a lot of companies coming in very fast. And I know your area does have some problems, incredibly. People don't talk about that, but they do. But most areas have problems because the policies of this administration, they don't even have a policy. They're like, they don't have a policy. There's nothing. They don't have anything. They don't know what they're doing. I mean, think of it. They want to go to all electric cars, the whole thing electric. They need $9 trillion, I read the other day, to do a charging station, Max. He owns the gasoline stuff, and to do a charging station. And they built 8 charging stations up in the Midwest someplace. They spent $9 billion. I kid you not. You know what that is? A charging station is like a gas pump. It's the equivalent of a gas pump. They spent $9 billion for 8 charging stations. So if you look at it that way, if you did the whole country, you would have spent $30 trillion, okay? Which is more than the country, which is every country in the world. It's so out of control. It's so horrible. And they don't want to change. The truckers came in to see me. The truckers are great. They have trucks that can go from New York to Los Angeles on a tank of diesel fuel. And they came in almost crying. They said, these people are crazy. They want us to go to electric trucks. And the problem is they don't go far. They'd have to stop 6 times. I mean, you talk about no deliveries. They have to stop 6 times. They're 2.5 times heavier than gasoline or diesel. So the truck would weigh 2.5. I said, well, that could be a problem, right? Yes, you'd have to rebuild every bridge in the United States because they can't hear. What do you think of that, Carlos? So now if you're a child, you'd say, okay, that doesn't work. You know, those 2 things, right? It doesn't go far. And the other thing, third thing, is they'd have to use half of the capacity for the battery because the battery